Ms. Gallup to explain her vote.
I'd like to compliment the author of this particular piece of legislation. He's trying to bring equity to the governments that can have an opinion on these pipelines going through communities. I hadn't realized until a few months ago that cities and villages had this opportunity, but towns did not. I'd just like to reference the fact that we have a pipeline in the district that I represent, along with some of my colleagues, called the Algonquin Pipeline, which is starting out in Westchester in a town, the town of Portland. And this pipeline is going within 100 and some feet of our nuclear plant. And if you want to talk about safety and good placement, I don't think any of us would say that is a good placement. Somebody asked, could you work with the pipeline people to move a pipeline? Well, I don't think that was able to be happening in this particular incident. They come in and they have eminent domain. It's very hard to work as a property owner to try to change or to negotiate. It just doesn't work. And in many instances, these pipelines, like the AIM pipeline, is providing no power to New York State. It's going off into Connecticut, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and probably to other countries. And, I think the fact that local communities can have more impact is extremely, extremely important for the safety of our residents, and in my case, in this area, the safety of people who live within 10 miles, 15 miles of a nuclear plant. It's almost insane to put a pipeline next to a nuclear plant, in my mind. Thank you very much.
Ms. Gallup in the affirmative. Ms. Lipton to explain her vote.
Yes, to explain my vote, Mr. Speaker, I also want to applaud the sponsor of this legislation. New Yorkers are very smart people, in my experience. And people across New York are realizing that to build infrastructure, to build pipelines and compressor stations and all these other major infrastructure projects that are 40 and 50-year investments doesn't make any sense when our country's scientists are telling us we have to get off fossil fuel. Not in 10 years or 20 years or 30 years or 40 years, but now. They're telling us 1.5, that's the number out of Paris, in terms of where we should be in 1.5 Celsius heat rise, global heat rise, is the limit they think is manageable. And we're at 1.1 right now. We're moving towards the danger zone. And many New Yorkers know that. And they know that to be putting in infrastructure that's a 40 or 50-year investment makes no sense. In fact, it's the definition of insanity. Trucks, not so great either. Obviously we can have accidents, but they're not a 40-year investment. We can say bye-bye to the trucks in a few years or 5 years. And also people realize that a lot of this fuel is just going through New York. It's going from one state to the coast, to Boston, to Canada, wherever. It's not mostly fuel that's going to be used in New York State for New Yorkers' benefit. We have lots of capacity for energy in New York, and if we did the kind of energy conservation that we should be doing the kind of really roll out energy conservation in the way we should and the way we can afford to do, we could easily bring down demand for energy by 50% over the next 5 years. So we should be doing that with our resources and not have this rollout of major infrastructure. Again, I want to thank the sponsor, and this bill has my full support. I urge my colleagues to support it. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Ms. Lipton in the affirmative. Ms. Fahey.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To explain my vote as well, I will be voting as well in support of this measure, and I want to commend the sponsor as well. And yes, as was discussed earlier, the secret process is underway to address many of the very, very serious environmental impact issues, as well as some of the health and safety concerns. But I do think it's important that we expand the voices here beyond cities and villages so that the towns can be heard, because dozens of towns will be affected, particularly by this proposed Pilgrim pipeline. This pilgrim, the one pipeline alone, the potential impact here is just rather extraordinary. There's 235 streams that would be crossed and 296 wetland crossings. We have the other thing, we heard a lot about the oil train traffic because this pipeline would be carrying crude oil. That crude oil would be loaded on here at the Port of Albany, and is anticipated that it would dramatically increase the number of oil trains coming through to load into that pipeline to carry down the Hudson for export into, or for use then in New Jersey and New York City. That alone creates tremendous concern because, as we know, we have seen problems in this country and in Canada with oil train disasters, and we know that there have been dozens, if not hundreds, of incidences with pipeline leaks. So I want to join in what other colleagues have mentioned in that we need to empower our towns as well as the city and villages to express their concerns and to be able to oppose this where necessary, and to help put the pressure on alternative energies as well as renewable energies and resources, because in the end, that is the only way that we will solve these issues and concerns, and I vote in the affirmative. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Ms. Fahey in the affirmative. Mr. Soreto.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm also a supporter of this legislation, and if I could, I'd like to talk about an issue in my areas, in my towns, where we have these gas lines that are coming through the towns, and the gas is going on its way to Canada. The local people are concerned, especially in the neighborhoods, with these huge gas lines because they feel that, you know, potentially there could be a bomb almost if it goes off, and they're worried about their families. But another issue has taken place where there's discussions of dehydration. And the dehydration plants that are being built around our area is that these gas lines are sending the gas over to Canada, but their environmental protection laws are stronger than here in New York State. So what they're going to do is the dehydration plants are going to open up the gas and take out the moisture and let that in our air for our neighbors to breathe, so that then they can ship it over to Canada. So we get the health hazard, Canada gets the gas. And so therefore, I'm totally in favor of this legislation because our towns, the people in New York State locally, need to have a voice to protect their families. So therefore, I am voting in support of this issue. Thank you.
Mr. Soreto in the affirmative. Mr. Buckwall.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise in support of this legislation to commend the sponsor. This legislation simply gives towns the same authority the villages and cities already have over gas pipelines. We trust towns when it comes to a whole range of other planning parts of municipal government, whether it's oversight of a building plan or anything really that affects great commerce within the town is something that we say our local government should be able to do. And frankly, I'm dismayed to see so many folks being dismissive of the rights of towns. I grew up in a village. I live in a city, but I now represent 8 towns. And there's, in many respects, very little difference between a village, a city, and a town, at least inherently. We have towns that are bigger in population and in size than villages and cities in New York State. We have a great variety of villages, a great variety of cities, a great variety of towns. They mostly came about by historic reasons, not necessarily to distinguish between what they are supposed to be able to do and what they shouldn't be able to do. I really feel that we should be empowering our towns this way, and I'm very pleased that the great majority of my colleagues agree. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Buckwall in the affirmative. Mr. Palamisano.
Mr. Speaker, my colleagues, just briefly to explain my vote. Again, I understand the sentiments of the sponsor and what he's trying to do. I don't want to be dismissive of that. And certainly I don't think those of us who are voting no on this are dismissive of towns' input in this process. Towns do have an input in this process through the seeker process. The thing I want people to understand when I talk about this issue, when I talk about it in a broader perspective, is that the state has a vested interest in developing an energy infrastructure. We need an energy infrastructure system in place. Again, I will remind you, two years ago when we had the big natural gas and propane spike, it was not for a lack of supply. There was no capacity to get the natural gas and propane through. For those who say we don't get any benefit, it goes from one state to the other. Listen, our energy supply source is a global, it's a national market. When that price spike, even though propane is going to another state or natural gas is going to another state, it affects the entire market. So when it's constricted, when there's less supply, not getting to the demand, that increases everyone's prices. So it does have a vested interest. It does affect New Yorkers if we're part of this pipeline process. Whether you're New York City or Long Island or upstate, we're going to have a problem as far as, a lot of people want to get Indian Point offline. That's 25% of the generating capacity of the city. The green energy is not going to do it enough, ladies and gentlemen. Right now, it only constitutes about 2% of our total generated capacity in the state. Natural gas and oil still are those main drivers. It can't be just a blatant cut it off right away. We have to work together. It has to be balanced. And again, I'll say it enough. It's not enough just to have clean energy. We need affordable and reliable. The green energy doesn't have the backup. You still have to have, whether it's wind or solar, you still need a backup supply. What's that backup supply? It's natural gas, it's oil. So there's other conventional means that have to back up that supply. So because of that, Mr. Speaker, I'll be voting in the negative. Thank you.
Are there any other votes? Announce the results.
Ayes 80, noes 28.
The bill is passed.
Assembly 2462A, Rules Report 118. Mr. Bronson, an act to amend the Workers' Compensation Law and the Education Law.
Read the last section.
This act shall take effect immediately.
Clerk will record the vote. Are there any other votes? Announce the results.
Ayes 80, noes 12.
The bill is passed.
Assembly 9933A, Rules Report 296. Mr. Bronson, an act to amend the labor law.
Read the last section.
This act shall take effect immediately.
Clerk will record the vote. Are there any other votes? Announce the results.
Ayes 87, noes 11.
The bill is passed. Mr. Morelli.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Colleagues, we're going to take a short break after we hear an announcement. Well, it looks like Ms. Schimmel may have stepped out of the chamber. So on behalf of Ms. Schimmel, we're going to have an immediate Democratic conference in the Speaker's conference room. And I'd like to ask you to call on Mr. Crouch for an announcement as well.
Mr. Crouch, for purposes of an announcement. An immediate Republican conference in the parlor. Mr. Morelli?
Yes, sir. I now move that the House stand at ease until the conclusion of party conferences.
House will stand at ease till the conclusion of party conferences. Thank you.